I was 6 years old when I received my first compliment for my language skills. I was riding a public bus in Taipei, Taiwan with my family, and my sister and I were chattering away. Across the aisle from us were 3 elderly Chinese ladies staring at us. And my mother overheard them say in Mandarin, "Oh, those 2 little girls, they must be so smart. They speak such good English." They had no way of knowing this was the only language that we spoke. And we were too young to be embarrassed. I had plenty of time later in life to be embarrassed. With my Chinese face, I often get this question, "Do you speak any Chinese?" Often the speaker knows a little bit of Chinese, wants to try out a few phrases, or they only speak Chinese and they need me to. Every time I have to answer, no, it's a pang of kind of incompetence and guilt. But it's technically not my fault. My mother grew up in Shanghai, and she grew up speaking Shanghai dialect, which is incomprehensible to Mandarin speakers. She only learned Mandarin and English in high school. My father grew up in Corona, Queens. You know that Paul Simon song that goes, "Me and Julio down by the schoolyard, Rosie, queen of Corona"? It's that Corona, right? So he grew up speaking Toisan village dialect at home with his parents, and a little bit of Cantonese for when they went and visited Chinatown, but mostly English. He learned it in public school, and he practiced it with customers across the counter of my grandfather's hand laundry. So my mother speaking Shanghai and Mandarin, and my father speaking Toisan and Cantonese had no dialect in common. You may have seen Chinese people do this. They're exchanging characters because the written language is the same across all of the dialects. But my father never learned to write in Chinese, so my parents couldn't even do that. They met in America, they courted, they married, and they raised their children entirely in English. This seems like a good excuse, right, that I don't speak Chinese? Not good enough. Driven by guilt and good intentions, freshman year in college, I signed myself up for a full year Mandarin intensive. This class met 4 days a week at 8 a.m. The first semester, I came out with a D. I went back for more. The second semester, I finished with an F. And this led to my flunking out of college. But can we say, taking a year off to get my act together and coming back and finishing later, which I did. But it was painful that the entire East Asian Languages and Civilizations Department knew my parents as academic colleagues. And my sister, 1 year ahead of me, graduated from that same department, summa cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa. She not only mastered advanced Mandarin, she took classical Chinese, she took a couple of years of Mongolian, and she went on and threw in a little Tibetan just for fun. I did not make that up. My sister could not have become a dancer as I did later in life, but she is today a professor of East Asian diplomatic history. But I didn't give up. After college and the years that I was a dancer in New York, you could see me on the subway with my Walkman on, mouthing phrases from my conversational Mandarin adult education classes. And I would go to sleep at night tracing characters on the ceiling. Even today, on my bookshelf, you can see my college textbooks, my conversational phrase books, my flashcards, and my daughter's high school and college textbooks because I made them study Chinese. And next to that, until recently, my beautiful boxed set of 12 Rosetta Stone cassette tapes. I could only bear to give those away to Goodwill last year because I had downloaded on my phone both the Duolingo and Babbel apps. But every time I saw that bookshelf, it was like a broken promise. The net result is I think I have a pretty good ear and accent. I know my 4 Mandarin tones. Ma, 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 ma. All those 4 syllables, they mean different things. I can't tell you what. But when a Chinese speaker asks me now, "Do you speak any Chinese?" I can say confidently, colloquially, 一点一点, a little bit. But then the conversation goes on. They're excited. I sound good. And I'm helpless and apologetic again because I have a vocabulary of about 24 words. And I'm still ashamed. Fast forward to about a year and a half ago, and I had just started my new job at Global Arts Live, presenting world music and dance. At one of my first events, I went to the concert, and the singer was from Venezuela, and she did the whole concert in Spanish. After the show, someone came up to me and said, "Great concert, loved the music." But I missed so much, and I felt left out and alienated because she didn't speak English. I started apologizing, and my mind was spinning. Should I have made that singer speak English? Could we have printed translated lyrics? What about instant interpretation? At the next concert, I got out my phone and I pulled up one of my 6 translation apps to see if it would pick up sung words. It didn't. But I realized I wasn't watching the concert, I wasn't listening to the music, and I was probably annoying everyone around me. So I put away my phone, and in the next song, I let myself relax into the music. I let the beat into my body. I tuned into the performer, and I soaked up that feeling of being immersed in a culture. That sense of connecting cultures across continents through art seems so powerful to me. And as I go about my work now, I get a visceral sense that music and dance are universal languages. And the more I embrace that understanding, the more it doesn't seem to matter so much that I don't speak Chinese. What I'm working on instead is releasing my shame and accepting I am an American-born person. I have my own version of my Chinese heritage, and it doesn't have to include memorizing more than 24 vocabulary words. Thank you.